again our Q&A Monday. So today I'm delivering a session myself again. I'm back, and our tax tips are back. So the topic today is actually about hiring people. As you know, the theme of this month, we've been talking about a lot of like tax implication for small businesses. Or even last week we did a special session about how you can take the big leap from being an employee and to become a business owner. And this session, we're actually talking about when your business is in position of taking on normal employee, or even if you just want to have your family member to work in your business, and then of course you can pay them salary and then save some tax. It's actually quite fascinating over the past few years. Some small business clients in our database, it's like we have them, if their family member is not earning, say they have a 16-year-old son, and they can start working for the family business. And then if you give them about like £8,000 a year, that's below the national insurance threshold. And then it doesn't trigger any further tax for your son, but then for your business is effectively saving you tax ranging from 20% to 40%. So that's an advantage. There are lots of people doing that. Of course, there are some certain obligations you have to consider. And also, in particular, if you are looking to hire normal employees, you have to really look into your obligations and what you need to do, because employee, if that's family member, perhaps it's negotiable, but then if that's normal employee, it's a lot of hard work. You do need to take care of them. And if you are in that position, actually, first of all, it's a lot of respect, because being an employer or start hiring people, it's not easy job. Like in my business, I've been running this for 3 years, and I started hiring probably in my second year. But last 2 years, it's like I probably fired people 5 times, as far as I can remember. So it's really not an easy journey. But of course, today we're talking about the obligations, like legal obligation, and then some tax in respect to tax. And in the end, we'll talk about some sort of tax-free perks that you can offer to employee. Perhaps some of them are really obvious, but then there are some not so obvious. Perhaps people tend to not know about it and not really take advantage of it. So today we just talk about either you're hiring your family member in a business, how you can maximize this, or if you're hiring normal employees, and what are your obligations. Basically, your obligations will be the same, and of course the tax-free perks you can take are the same. Okay, so let's get started with the obligations. So what you need to do if you're running as a limited company, or you're sole trader or partnership. So first thing, if you want to set up hire your family member in your business, then of course you need to become an employer. So first of all, what you need to do is like your business need to tell the taxman that you're an employer. So in technical term, we call this register as a PAYE. So PAYE stands for pay as you earn. That's like you can start running the payroll, when your people start putting yourself or your people on your payroll. And when you run your salary slip for them, their tax will be deducted at source. So every time, as you know, either you pay them monthly, bi-weekly, or weekly, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But every time if you pay them, if they have to pay tax, so it's like it's your obligation to pay tax on behalf of them. So perhaps if you had a job before, like being employed by someone, you never have to worry about your tax bill because your employer has taken care of this part already. So you don't have to really do anything, but then if you are the employer, that's your responsibility. Get your pay slip right, deduct the right amount of tax and national insurance, and then pay the taxman as well as pay your employee. Of course, here, if you pay someone like £20,000 a year, the payroll cost might be slightly higher than that. The reason behind is not just you have to pay them the gross salary. Well, the gross salary is included the employee's deductions. So these are you pay the employee the net amount after deduction, and then you pay the taxman whatever tax the employee owes to the taxman. But then on top of that, normally you might have employer's national insurance to pay. So your payroll cost might be slightly higher than what you actually paying your employee as a gross salary. So really look out for that. But of course, currently you have the small employer's allowance. So if you're a small business, you might be eligible for the £3,000 employer's allowance, but do check with your advisor if that's something you do qualify, and then that needs to be applied when running your payroll. Okay, so that's the obligation, one of the obligations, very basic, but of course every time if your employee joins, you need to obtain certain information, like currently there's a checklist, like their national insurance, if they have a job before, or if that's a second job, all this information need to require, as well as their ID or everything. It just really need to keep the record properly. And also, if the employee leaves, then of course, if you are gonna remove them from the payroll, then you need to issue them P45. So that's confirm what you pay them as gross during this employment, and then what tax you deducted. That applies to normal employee as well as your family member. If any of them situation changed, they need to leave the job, then that's what you need to do. And of course, even if they don't leave, they stay with you like after years, then what you need to do is every payroll year end, it's personal tax year end, by the way. It's very different from the company tax year end. That's April to April. So there's some end of year tasks as well. So you need to give them P60, give to the employees. So these are some paperwork wise. Of course, for most small businesses, they'd rather have the accountants, the payroll bureau or bookkeeper to take care of this part, because it is actually a lot of work. And not just this, I think the rule has changed slightly. That was a couple of years ago, I remember. Before, that was relatively straightforward. But then at the moment, we called it real-time information. So every time, every month, or every week, or every fortnight, you run the payroll, you pay the employee, we have to automatically report to the taxman about all this information, who you paid, and how much tax deducted. So that's been running for a couple of years now. But then again, that's something, if you have outsourced your payroll, that's actually something your payroll bureau or your accountant has been doing for you. And one quick note is for some people, like their structure are relatively simple, or if their situation changed, say they stop trading, but their company is still active and they are still registered as employer, but if actually they don't pay anyone at that point. Again, there's still obligations, because taxmen still want to know like what's going on, like how much you paid. So if you are not paying anyone, you still have the obligation to do the real-time reports, just to tell them you're not paying anyone this month or this week. But again, for some people, in order to reduce the hassle, they might just deregister, remove them from the record, just to reduce the hassle. But really depends on the situation. So yeah, of course, as an employer, you do have a lot of responsibility, not just all this paperwork, all this obligation. Of course, you can outsource all these tasks, all these tactics to your accountant, to your bookkeeper, or to your payroll bureau. But then it's something you need to be aware what exactly they are doing for you and what are your obligations. So it's also quite common ask questions, even if for directors they are looking to take salary from their own company, then that's again something they need to do. And the other thing they need to consider is a minimum salary. Of course, if you're a director, then director doesn't apply, the minimum salary rule doesn't apply. But normal employee, or even if that's your family member and they are not a director, then you need to consider all this. And the other thing, one thing is minimum salary. So do check on the website because gov.uk actually is very helpful. Every year they change the minimum living wage, and also it's segregated by age. So do check on that and make sure you comply with all these things. Just don't get yourself into trouble. And the other thing actually is very it's called automatic enrollment. That's again another obligation if you are the employer. Again, unfortunately, if you are hiring someone, you do need to take care of them, not just pay them the salary. You also have the obligation to take care of their retirement as well, because it's a new obligation. Of course, if you're a director, if you don't want to contribute to your pension automatically from your payslip, it's fine. You don't have to if you don't want to. But if that's an employee, do check with like sort of specific requirements. But it is most likely, like most of the workforce, you do need to contribute to their pension as well. So that's again another obligation, unfortunately. I know it's a lot of hassle, and for most of big companies, it's already been running for years. Like a bigger firm, bigger companies, they already have their own pension scheme. Perhaps it's already established. But now the government just require even the small companies, even if that's just one employee on your payroll, that's one employee is not a director, then you will have that obligation. So that's why now do check with your accountant or your bookkeeper if they take care of this part for you. And also check out your your post as well, to make sure you get the correspondence from the pension regulator, because they do keep reminding you, they will send you confirmation what's your starting date of this obligation. So at the moment, not everyone has started, like not every small businesses has started this process, but you might have already have received some letters from the pension regulator to confirm when you have to start. Majority of them will start end of this year or beginning of next year. But if you haven't received anything, do check with either give them a call or check with your accountants just to see, just make sure everything is being taken care of. So yeah, as an employer, you do have a lot of responsibility. Of course, I know not just this financially, but also other things. You have to train them. It's a lot of work. So I do respect for every businesses who has employees, like proper employees on their payroll. It is a lot of responsibility, not just a paperwork-wise, not just financially. You're feeding not just yourself, but you're feeding your employee and even take care of their retirement. So yeah, do a lot of respect. But on the other side, for the business owner, it's another mindset we need to adopt. As a business, if you're only thinking about your business is only benefiting you, then perhaps it's not going to last. I've been through this sort of a mindset change journey. Before I was thinking, why I'm hiring these people? Why they keep asking me, am I paid like during the lunchtime? Am I paid on salary, on holidays, or this and that? So before I used to resent it because I always think I'm the boss and I do the most of the work. I work the longest. Like employees, they only perhaps come either part-time or just 9 to 5, and then they have all these, they take all these. But then for me, I just sort of, before I used to resent, but then now it's just a sort of, I've been through the mindset change. The company, my business, needs to be something. It needs to be something that benefits everyone, benefit my employees, benefit my clients and my vendors. If we have that sort of mindset change, then things become a lot easier. And also what I realize is that if I have a mindset that take care of my employees, or always stepping up, like think about, like thinking like thinking, stepping into their shoes and consider things in their perspective. Also look to, have more things to take care of them. I'm happy as an employee, and they probably feel more motivated to work for me. It's also some sort of a law, like if you give more to your employee, then in the end they give more to you. So that's just, I find, like, it's sort of a mindset change. It's so fascinating. Of course, my journey of hiring people it's never been easy. As said, I fired people 5 times last 2 years. Finally got, at the moment, I'm happy with my employees. I have 2 amazing employees working for me. I'm happy with that, and I'm building it up. Okay, so by the way, so we get back to our main topic. Okay, we talk about the obligations as well as the auto-enrollment. I think the other thing, perhaps a little bit confusing, and also, to be honest, is quite chaotic at the moment. It's a new IR35 rule change, like the public sector. Of course, it's not just a public sector. The IR35 generally, you need to consider something like if that person work for you is a genuine, if that's like an employee, or someone is a contractor. So these are sort of 2 distinctions, because as a contractor, you don't have to pay them any pension. They are taking care of their own taxes. But then they are not like regularly work for you, and you don't supposed to control their work schedule. Quite often, there might be someone like come every so often, or someone have a like high skills, like some sort of specific skills, just come for a while to work for you to add some value, and then they invoice you and you pay them and they leave. So really need to sort of distinguish if that's someone genuinely self-employed, or that's someone you need to consider as an employee. One biggest distinction was control. Of course, we covered IR35, this topic, previously in 2 long episodes. So to refer to these previous episodes, these are all on YouTube. To refer to like what IR35 means exactly and what you need to look out for. But if someone is genuinely self-employed, you don't have all these responsibilities. But if someone does, you do. The other classic thing, actually there are some people, like some people do it, like sort of do these kind of things. Really need to really need to be careful, because if you do employ someone, or if you have someone to do the work for you, you can't just like say deliberately want to avoid all these responsibilities, or this pension, paying them pension and holiday pay just to save your costs and regard them as self-employed. You can't do that. If you are sort of want someone being committed for a longer period, and want someone, you give them proper training, and want someone to grow within your company, then you need to consider, this person might be as genuine employee, and you need to take care of them. If that's someone on probation period, or just someone like you just want to give a try, that's probably fine for a short period of time. But if you consider take them as a permanent employee, you do need to consider all these, all these requirements you are obliged to do. Okay, so IR35, something need to consider, but also the nitty-gritty and also the obligation is, regarding the public sector at the moment, it's actually quite chaotic. I've been reading some report, and also I know like TfL, early on they decided they don't want to take any risks, that they just take sort of a blanket approach to deem everyone to be inside IR35. But then again, as an employee, if you do that, that's again have another risk for you, because as an employee, they entitle all these benefits. If you deem someone as as an employed, deduct their tax, take their tax away, but you don't give them the benefits they entitled as employee, then again they might just they might claim this, or they might have something against you. So do need to be careful. I think the IR35 rule change, basically the government wants the public body to do is to assess their employees, or assess their workers properly, take reasonable care, but rather than just take the blanket approach, because you need to consider risks behind that. Okay, so of course these are like the hard bit, like probably some people say boring bits. They rather just give everything to the accountant or to their advisor to deal with it. But then, it's better as a if you are the employer, or even if you are like contracting this working as a contractor, you need to be aware of what's going on with you. And even if the accountant is taking care of the payroll for you, you need to know what exactly they are doing for you. Okay, so these are the perhaps a little bit boring bits, but the next perhaps we just give some exciting bits. So these are the perks. Say, for instance, if you're hiring a 16-year-old son to work in your business, or even if you're hiring the normal employee, there's something you can do to, give them as a tax-free benefit. I think one thing kind of popular is a cycle to work scheme. So basically, you can give your employees bicycle voucher just to encourage them to keep a healthy lifestyle, keep active rather than just taking the tube, rather than just sitting at the desk all day. Because cycling is good, it's good for health, and also lots of people they don't have much time, but then you give them bicycle voucher, just encourage them to keep active and have a healthy lifestyle. So that's cycle to work. And the other thing I think related to health, normally if you give employees a gym membership, then of course for you as a business, that's a tax deduction. But then for employee, they have to, it's not a tax-free benefit. So employee, they have to pay tax on these benefits because they receive this like gym membership as if they are receiving the monetary amount of the salary. But then if you have an on-site gym, like in your office building, and that's only accessible for your employees, you're not opening them to the public, then that is tax-free. Of course, there's a cost involved. There might be higher cost than you have like just give them a gym membership elsewhere. But then if you do have that, on-site gym, then or sports facility, then that is tax-free benefit for your employees. Okay, so that's related to health. Some people ask me if you give them like health insurance, if that's tax-free. Normally it's not a private medical insurance. You can give them as one of a benefit pack. That's not a problem. But in the end, at the end of the year, you need to report to the taxman that's a benefit you give to the employee, and they have the extra tax. They need to pay extra tax and national insurance on that. So private medical insurance, unfortunately, that is not something that is not a tax-free benefit. Okay, some other benefits not so obvious. One thing that is entertainment. Of course, entertaining your clients normally is not a tax deduction at all. But what if you entertain your employees? So at the moment, it's legally that if you have a like annual function, like annual Christmas dinner for employees, of course you can utilize that as a family business. If you have an annual Christmas dinner or anniversary, you just name it. And just pure entertainment. You don't have to talk anything about business on that. So as long as that's under £150 per head per function, then that is tax-free as well. So yeah, Christmas party, but that's some function you do like annually. It doesn't have to be limited to like Christmas party. You can do anything, but then something annually, you do it as a reward of your employees' hard work and keep them happy. Then yeah, keep in a certain cost limits. Then that is tax-free. And of course, if your employee is required to work overnight elsewhere or overseas, and yeah, they incur some other foods, then of course, if you pay for them, these are tax-free as well. So some sort of food and entertainment. And the other thing, like if your employee like sort of randomly do it, like eat at a restaurant, just pure entertainment, that might not be a tax-free benefit. But what if you have like a canteen in the office, like in the office building, office canteen, that is tax-free as well. So that's a sort of a nitty-gritty about these perks. The other kind of perks, like normally if you give them like normal commutes, say if you pay employee like annual travel card, that's again that your employee will pay tax on that. But what if sometimes the employee have to chase the deadline? They have to work after 9 p.m., like late night work. That's sort of only happen occasionally. And at that point, like public transport has shut down or it's not safe at all for them to take the public transport. And you give them taxi, then that is tax-free. So late night travel, if that's required, they have to stay late for work. And then that's only happen occasionally, not regularly, not someone working night shift. That's something not happen regularly, then you can do that tax-free. And other things like relocation. Say, for instance, you're the employee is required to move to Manchester for work, and that person have to pay the agency fee or any like relocation cost, and up to £8,000, that is tax-free as well. That is a tax-free benefit if you pay for them. So these are all like tax-free perks you can give to employee. Of course, if you are a family business, you can utilize them fully, and then these are tax-free. We cannot guarantee that the tax rule might change, but then these are something you can utilize and maximize to save your tax. I think one last point as a tax-free perk, that is childcare. At the moment, until this year, you can, like employer, you can still register like a childcare scheme, like employer provided childcare, and provide your employee childcare voucher that's up to £50 per week, tax-free. But then they say new entrants, new registration will close from April next year, and now the government is replacing this to the tax-free childcare. So there's some slight rule change, but at this moment, at this point of time, well, thank you for the like, by the way. You guys are really nice today. So at this point of time, so the new tax-free childcare is just opened, and then now we have the if you are running a business, you can still consider registering like childcare scheme for your company to offer to your employees. So really to evaluate what's better for your employees, and if you're a company director, of course you can take that perk yourself as well. So you need to evaluate what's better for you. So either talk to your accountant or your advisor. So you can talk to myself as well, so I can do an evaluation for you, give you some point you to the right direction. But then that's something you can consider. So there are certain requirements for the tax-free childcare. Say, for instance, the tax-free childcare, both parents have to be working, and you cannot be earning more than 100K a year. So things need to be considered. But then, yeah, these are some perks. Still, you can maximize this. Okay, so having covered all these, like your obligation as an employer, and then some tax-free perks, I hope you find this episode useful. But of course, if you do have any questions, even if you are watching the replay, if you do have any questions, please be free to comment or ask me, get in touch with myself, and then we can look into some solutions. Of course, if you're looking to get some more insights or some sort of meet any like-minded people who are on their way to look after their finances, we have our private Facebook group. It's called Tax Deductible Lifestyle Tribe. You can get more guidance, get more community support, and also we have our panel of experts. So we have financial advisor, we have advisor who can advise small business about cash flow, or even sales experts like expert who can help you grow your business and build your wealth. So do request to join that private group. That's anything, any questions, anything asked in the group, stay in the group. So it's private, completely confidential. But if you do want even more confidential information, you don't want to share with anyone, but want some guidance, like tailored guidance, be free to get in touch with myself. So either by Facebook or by email. Okay, so I hope you find this episode useful and enjoyed all this nitty-gritty about hiring employees and what you can do to hire your family member in your business properly and maximize all these tax-free perks. All these are legally done as well. So I hope you have a nice evening, and I shall see you very soon. Thank you very much. Bye now.